Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're looking at another Tiger 2. This time it is by Zvezda, a Russian company. This particular kit is relatively new. I picked it up a year or two ago, I think it was, and basically I hadn't really used much Zvezda stuff before. I have done some of their Fallschirmjägers from that Art of Tactic game from my Focus on Fallschirmjäger series, which are still being painted at the moment, so please be patient with those, but they'll be out soon. But anyway, so the Tiger 2, I'm putting together a battalion for rapid fire purposes, which you need roughly about 10 tanks for a heavy German tank battalion, and I have about 6 so far, so we're going to finish off this battalion with some Zvezda, some Airfix, Fujimi and a Dragon. So today we're looking at the Zvezda one. So basically the box art there, quite nice. Big Tiger 2 in the front, looks pretty impressive. In the background there you seem to have a Nashorn, which is pretty cool. And these are a snap fit, no glue required, as it says here. This of course is 1/7/2 scale, as it states down in the bottom left corner here. I will be gluing this though, however. I find those snap kits, they're grand and all, but I just tend to like the extra little bit of added security with a little drop of glue. But anyway, there you go. So yeah, box art's quite nice. Could be anywhere in the European front. Could be France or Germany itself or whatever, I don't know. It's kind of the architecture there, but anyway, that's that. Nice little rendition of a Tiger 2. On the side of the box, the usual scenario, gives some colour indications, a little breakdown of the way that the kit is laid out in the sprues and stuff, 86 parts. Don't glue children to anything, fair enough, good advice. Into the box then, usual kind of story, as with most manufacturers, bit of advertising as regards other products that they do. So you have, what is that? It's a Panther by the look of it, an IS-2, and a Tiger 1, fine, fair enough. And same on the end of the box there. Back of the box then you get a sort of a nice impression of the tank in its fully assembled and unpainted format, which is pretty good, lets you know what you're getting into, nothing wrong with that. And that's it, basically. That's the box. Let's have a look at the instructions as per usual. So the instructions basically, there's the front of it, here we are. This is your basic kind of instructions layout that you get with any kit, so nothing particularly exciting there. Now there is a little bit of detail here as regards kind of handrails or whatever those are called. They're a little bit large to scale now, in fairness, it has to be said, I think, but they might be used for more than just handrails, I don't know, but at the end of the day I'm sure they look fine. And there you go, there's your turret going together. You have your gun assembly there for a little bit of motion, or a little bit of movement inside that. That's pretty cool. At the back there then you get your exhaust and bits and pieces. And you're moving along there to adding in a few bits and odds there. The wheels, of course. Wheel section is interesting because it comes as sort of a pre-molded it's kind of a cross between the individual wheels and the sort of fully formed track sets that I like. But we'll see how that works out. And then basically your track assembly goes together and goes onto the hull. Fair enough. And a bit more up there. So you're getting your sprockets and drive wheels and stuff like that in together, and your track is folding down, fine. Then you have your towing cables and various bits and pieces that go on there. That's nice. And some more, and the machine gun G34 and the ball mount hull at the front there. Lovely stuff. And at the back, again, just the gun going on some extra track lengths, which is always nice. I normally kind of put on maybe half or 3/4 of the amount of track. I think it looks better, and it always gives you 1 or 2 spares because some manufacturers don't come with extra track lengths, so nice to apply to other brands there as well, especially if you're doing a set like I am with a battalion. And again, just locks in place. I like this kind of lock and twist scenario here. I think it's a pretty good idea, and it's good for the wargaming because you can take off the turret and put some cotton wool or whatever in there to represent smoke if it's been knocked out. And some painting instructions here and bits and pieces, usual story. And one of my favourite lost in translation scenarios that you get sometimes normally from Asian manufacturers, but I like this one. It says, "We advise to clean the model very well from fat before painting." Jesus, I mightn't be allowed to paint this myself if they have to be cleaned of fat. I'll have to get back to the gym. Anyway, so that's the instructions. So let's have a look at a couple of sprues. We'll just start with the first one that comes to hand here. So this is the turret. As you can see, you have all the little kind of indentations there for the various bits and pieces that will go on there. Detail is nice, I must say. Can't fault that. Light mightn't be great here today, but Guarantee you the moulding on this is quite crisp, quite nice. The gun looks a little short is the only thing. I'll have to see how that marries up with other manufacturers. Now you do have this other little bit here which might add an extra, nearly a centimetre I suppose, but still strikes me as being fractionally short, but we'll see how that goes going forward. So that's that. What else have we got here? We got these are the kind of the wheels, as I was saying, they're sort of pre-moulded in that scenario. That's not too bad. All your bits and pieces here, yeah, tools and bits and bobs. There's an axe and a hammer, and that's a block for track tensioning I think up here, wooden block, jack I believe, and so on. Shovel of course, I'm familiar with the workings of a shovel myself, and other bits and bobs there. So that looks pretty good. Detail is pretty good, and I must say nice and sharp. Everything is fairly well defined, so nothing really at fault there. I didn't get out of calipers or anything, but it looks pretty good to me, I have to say. So, although I'm no expert, as I say, but there you go. Lower hull section, pretty straightforward, as I always say. It looks pretty good. Offset as it should be. It might be a little bit, excessive there, but we'll see how that goes. Of course, it was offset in reality slightly, but I'm not sure if that's a little bit maybe over making the pudding there, but we'll see. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's just a hull, nice little detail on the base of it too. It's nice when they actually do that, because some manufacturers don't. Excuse me, while I just reach over here for some more bits. So that's the lower hull. The tracks themselves, kind of concerned about these, because they're not the kind of polyurethane, kind of rubbery kind of tracks you'd have before. They're a bit more rigid, so I'm just wondering how well they'll bend. But we'll see this evening when I'm putting this thing together how that works out. As I say, I haven't heard any bad reviews about it, but at the same time that's just a bit strange. It just seems very very stiff in comparison. I mean, yeah, there's flexibility in it by all means, so I'm presuming, geez, I won't do it right now, but we'll see how I get on with that later, and I can relay any horror stories or any stories of glory and victory that didn't snap in my hands going forward. Anyway, this is the upper hull. Upper hull looks quite good, I have to say. Nice bit of detail there. I like that. Yeah, it looks pretty good, I have to say. Nice detail on the wheels and bits and pieces here. Extra track and so on and so forth. And a nice little bit here in the extra towing cables. Always handy to have kind of nicely equipped kits with towing cables and stuff like that, because again there's one or two kits in the range, the Fujimi one in particular if I remember correctly, which doesn't have, so I might rob one of these and stick it on the side of it. We'll see, maybe not. And there's the wheels again, nice detail on those too, some of the extra wheels that go over the into these LEDs here. So that's basically that. Oh yeah, the decals of course. So there's the decals. They're not the worst, but they're certainly not the best. There's a little, I don't know, just in the national insignia there, the cross, the Balkan Cruiser, just looks a little bit on the kind of blurry side to me. I don't know. Might be just the backing paper actually is doing that, but we'll see. Very, very negligible level of detail, or of decals, should I say. You basically get your three numbers and you get your two crosses, and that's it, and nothing else, which is unfortunate because it's nice to have a few little extra bits and pieces, but there you go. So that's it guys, I'm going to crack on and see what I can do with this, get it together, get it painted, etc, etc, and we'll see how we get on with those tracks, which I'm kind of getting increasingly nervous about, but they might be fine, I'm sure. At the end of the day it shows on the back of the box that they fold in fairly well, and worst case scenario I can always kind of just fold them up around there if there's any breakages and whatever, so I'm sure we'll get on fine. Right, so I'll crack on with this. Guys, talk to you in a moment. Okay, so we've returned with the second part of our video on the Zvezda Tiger 2, or King Tiger, or Königstiger, whatever you want to call it. So, how do we get on? Well, good and bad, I suppose. I've both positive and negative things to say about this kit. Being a snap kit and the first Zvezda kit that I attempted, I wasn't too sure how this was going to go. But basically, I suppose the trouble that I encountered was with the actual snap fitting itself, where a lot of the apertures or openings or places where you have to basically snap things into simply didn't fit. and as a result they had to be opened up with a blade, and that created some problems and even some breakages and bits and pieces here and there. So from that perspective, that wasn't great. So the positives, I suppose, are the detail is fairly good, except for those handles on the top here, which I don't like. I think they're oversized, but pretty much everything else I'd be fairly positive about as regards the detail and that, and the general, I suppose, aesthetic or look of it, for want of a better term. I like the tracks to a certain extent, but they were also one of the problems, and I'll show you that on the other side in a moment. I elected, due to some issues around the fitting, I might have mentioned in the early part of the video that I was concerned about the flexibility, and that kind of concern kind of bore through, because you really have to be careful with it. I flexed it out, or I gingerly kind of manipulated it as best I could. I got it relatively flexible. Now, it worked okay on the piece of track that's on the side you're looking at there, but on the other side it didn't work out so well, and we'll just turn that around there so you can probably see it's a little bit of a mess here. It's kind of like looks more angular than curved, and it doesn't sit into the wheels there as well as it does on the other side. The instructions called for the wheels to be sort of pinned in through the track itself on little kind of pieces that were raised up off the floor of the track itself, and were pinned in the center pins of the wheels there, but that didn't work out so well. Things had to be opened up to fit in, and then they broke, and then I had to kind of do it the old-fashioned way, but with a kind of a new type of track system, for want of a better term. So it wasn't great, really, to be honest with you. And this side is the one that kind of came out the worst, really. As you can see underneath there, just where my thumbnail is up above there from that a little bit, it's all broken here, and along here and there, down along here as well. So it really didn't work out very well for me in that particular instance, I have to say. The other side wasn't too bad, although strangely enough I did this side first. The side it worked out rather well, and the other side was the side that went to, well, it went to hell, basically, is what happened. So it really wasn't very pleasant. So that would be a major negative, I would say, from that perspective. Other than that, again, any of the apertures for anything had to be opened up and be widened out. There was no way this thing was going to snap together as easily as it says here. No glue required. Yeah, right. Sorry lads, you do need glue, and you will need to put a bit of effort into putting this kit together. I kind of thought myself it was kind of, I won't say fly together, but I thought it was going to go relatively quickly, and really, to be perfectly honest with you, it just didn't from that perspective. But having said that, I really like the detail on the shovel, the hammer. There's an axe over the other side here, the towing cables on that side and on the other side here as well. Pretty good, I have to say. I like that. The engine deck is pretty decent. It's an engine deck on a Tiger 2. What you got, extra track links there, links or whatever you call them, they're pretty good as well. Now, I had mentioned I was probably only going to put, maybe one set here and one set in the other angle over this side, but because of the way that they're mounted to the side of the turret there, unfortunately I had to use them all, otherwise it would have been a gaping hole on either side. So that didn't work out for me there, so I had to use them all, but it still looks fine. And that was that. The front section here, the machine gun, for some strange reason, wants to be pointed in a downward position, no matter what I do with it, as does the little front light as well, so a little bit of a negative there. You might notice as well that this is missing one of the little tow hook sections here. We have one here and one here. Or rather, we don't have one here, it's missing. Again, snapping it on, snapped in my hands, and just was basically a little bit rubbish, really, to be honest. What else was there that we had a problem with? That was kind of it. I like the element of elevation and depression in the gun. That's pretty good. It turns fairly smoothly, and the turret stays on rather well, and can be taken off rather easily, which I like from the perspective of, if you're wargaming, to have a damaged vehicle. So that was that. The paint job is my usual Humbrol, what is it, 63, 113 and 75 for the green. So that's kind of basically that. Other than that, that's kind of it. It's a Tiger 2. Once you get over the small little kind of problems with the tracks and having to open up everything, it's a pretty nice little kit, actually, I have to say. I mean, I hate to be overly negative about it, because the detail isn't bad. It's sturdy. It's a little bit larger than other Tiger 2s, I think myself. It's a millimetre or two in length, a millimetre or two in width. And I would suggest if you're putting together a battalion of tanks, or you're doing whatever it is with, we'll say, Plastic Soldier Company, these guys would marry in quite well. Plastic Soldier Company don't do a Tiger 2 to date. They've just released a Tiger 1, which I may or may not be reviewing in the future. Probably not, because I have a load of them, but of Tiger 1s already, which I don't need anymore. But we'll see. But I would suggest that if you're using, we'll say, Plastic Soldier Company Panthers or Panzer IVs or whatever, from a size-wise, this would match in quite well with them. And speaking of size and size comparison and all that, let's have a look at the Revel, which is 172, and we'll have a look at the Fujimi, which is 176, just so you can have a little bit of an idea as regards that. I'm just going to try and raise the tripod here a little bit and keep all that in shot for you. That's not going too bad. So you can see here, just about, maybe if we take out my little riser I have underneath. So what have we got here? A guy on the left is our Zvezda. Center is our Revel Tiger 2 from many years ago, and here we have the old Fujimi. So if the tripod would cooperate, doesn't seem to want to because it's stuck under the chair. Here we go. You can probably see there the 176 Fujimi, of course, is the smaller, this one here. So that's obviously going to be shorter, narrower, etc, etc, etc. So that's that. But still a nice little kit, I must say. I enjoyed putting that one together. Then we have our Revel. So you can see if I just kind of square them up, it's fractionally longer. You can just see it there. Gun bar length is actually, strange enough, pretty much the same. There isn't much of a difference there. It's fractional maybe. And width-wise, there's a little bit in it as well, and so that's that. But all in all, pretty okay, and it's a little bit taller as well, which you can't really see from this perspective. But as I say, I'm not overly disappointed. I'm not overly impressed at the same time, but I'm happy enough with it. So that's that. So that's kind of my. I'll do this, just do the size comparison sidewise there, so you might be able to see it. But there's no point in me putting on the Pegasus and all the other ones that I have there as well. You've seen them in other videos. The Revel is the best one to use for a size comparison there. So that is my review on the Zvezda Tiger 2. Would I make it again? If I did, I'd be very careful what I was doing as regards that track system, and as regards, you know, just getting something off the sprue and applying it straight to the piece where you expect to stick it. It's not as simple as that. Am I happy with the kit as how it looks? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's very sturdy, I have to say, for a snap-together kit. I like the fact that the barrel moves. Don't like the fact that they had trouble with the tracks and the snapping together and all the rest of it slowed it down dramatically. And the light and the machine gun, yeah, not great. And as I say, a few little bits like this broke off and whatever. But other than that, it's not the worst kit at all, really, to be honest with you. Wouldn't be my favourite Tiger 2, to be honest. I would say probably the Revel prototype, which is this guy, is probably the favourite Tiger 2 in my collection. But that's just because I like the prototype turrets, even though I have an awful lot of the production model. This, of course, being the production. So that's it. Basically, a good kit, but as I say, watch out for those little pitfalls that I encountered there. And that is it, guys. That is my review on the Zvezda Tiger 2, Königstiger, whatever you want to call it. Nice little kit. Oh, I forgot to mention, I didn't use the numbers on the side there. I used 231 just out of the spares box. I didn't really like the quality of the decals for the numbers. Actually, the cross turned out okay. Actually, I thought that was going to be a problem, but it wasn't. It was the actual numbers weren't great. So that's that. So that's it, guys. Like and subscribe, all that business, and greatly appreciated. And we'll be back again fairly soon with another video. Talk to you then. Bye bye.